The brutal truth about PSG's back-to-back champion. They spent over €1 billion on superstars. Messi, Neymar, Mbappé. For over a decade, the Champions League stayed completely out of reach. Embarrassing exits, dressing room chaos, the reputation of biggest bottlers in European football history. Then Mbappé left. The superstars were gone. PSG won the Champions League 5-0 in the final. Now they're back in another final. Today, hunting back-to-back titles, chasing a place in history only Real Madrid has ever reached. How did the most mocked club in Europe become its most feared? What does stripping it all back actually reveal? Let's get into it. Entry 1. The €1 billion failure that built a dynasty. To understand how PSG won the Champions League, you need to understand just how spectacularly they failed to win it for over a decade. The Qatari owners arrived in 2011 and immediately launched the most expensive vanity project in football history. The most star-studded attack the sport had ever seen: Zlatan, then Cavani, then Messi, Neymar and Mbappé all on the same pitch. 3 forwards who'd won multiple Ballon d'Ors between them. And none of them wanted to defend. The results were painful. Knocked out by Real Madrid in 2022. Humiliated by Bayern in 2021. Eliminated on away goals, on penalties, on heartbreak after heartbreak. A symbol of what happens when you build a team around individuals instead of identity. Then came the moment that changed everything. PSG president Nasser Al-Khelaifi admitted it publicly. Winning the Champions League was no longer, in his words, something we are obsessed with. Done chasing it with checkbooks. Time to build something real. The man they hired to do it had just been sacked by Spain after a World Cup exit to Morocco. Luis Enrique arrived at PSG as a consolation prize, walking straight into the most difficult rebuild in European football. Entry 2. The Mbappé departure and the prophecy. Before Kylian Mbappé had even officially announced he was leaving, Luis Enrique said something in early 2024 that most people dismissed as arrogance. He said PSG would be better without Mbappé. Mbappé had been the club's leading scorer for 6 consecutive seasons. Arguably the best player on the planet. The face of the entire project. And his coach, in public, said they'd be fine without him. The internet exploded. Journalists laughed. Rival fans mocked. Then Mbappé signed for Real Madrid. And Luis Enrique got to work. What he built was almost the opposite of everything PSG had been. No superstars. No ego hierarchy. No untouchables. A system that demanded every attacking player press and defend from the front. His line to the squad: everyone attacks and defends. If you don't defend as a forward, you don't start. Then Ousmane Dembélé, the club's most expensive flop, the poster child of wasted talent at Barcelona, started thriving. Completely transformed. When Dembélé showed up late to training ahead of a Champions League match at Arsenal, Enrique dropped him from the squad entirely. PSG lost 2-0 that night. After the game, Enrique said, "That was my best decision of the season." Dembélé came back a different player. He ended 2024-25 with 32 goals and 14 assists in all competitions. Numbers that put him among the best in Europe. He set up 1 and scored 2 in the Champions League final. He finished the campaign as one of the leading Ballon d'Or candidates in the world. Entry 3. The final, 5-0. May 31st, 2025. Allianz Arena, Munich. PSG versus Inter Milan. Inter had been ruthless all season. PSG had the youngest squad in the last 16. Desire Doué, barely known 12 months before, was starting in a Champions League final. PSG won 5-0. The biggest winning margin in a major European final. Doué scored 2 and set up 1. Man of the match. A teenager in Munich, putting on one of the great individual performances in the history of the competition. PSG did it with the youngest squad in the knockout stages. Without Mbappé. Playing fluid, unpredictable, relentless football their opponents couldn't solve. Luis Enrique stood in Munich, in the stadium of the club that had knocked PSG out so painfully in 2021, and lifted the trophy. His prediction had come true. And it wasn't close. PSG went on to win the sextuple, 6 trophies in a single calendar year. Ligue 1, Coupe de France, Trophée de Champions, Champions League, European Super Cup, FIFA Intercontinental Cup, the first French club in history to win the Intercontinental Cup, a 30-match unbeaten run, records everywhere. This season, they're attempting what only one club in history has ever done. Entry 4, 2025-26, chasing history. Defending a Champions League title is almost impossible. Since 1992, only one club has retained it, Real Madrid, 3 consecutive times between 2016 and 2018. That's it. Nobody else. PSG came into this season carrying that weight. After the sextuple, every game became a pressure test. Every setback a crisis. The semi-final. Bayern Munich. 11 goals across 2 legs. A 5-4 first leg in Paris. A Dembele goal inside 3 minutes of the second leg. Harry Kane pulling one back in stoppage time to make it 1-1 on the night, 6-5 on aggregate. PSG held on. May 30th, 2026. Paris Saint-Germain versus Arsenal. Budapest's Puskás Arena. PSG bidding to become only the second club in the modern era to defend Europe's greatest prize. Arsenal, Premier League champions for the first time in 22 years, stand between them and history. Dembele, the Ballon d'Or winner, in the squad. João Neves, Vitinha, Kvaratskhelia, Dewey, the same system that won it last year, 1 year better, 1 year hungrier. PSG's rise wasn't built on superstars or petrodollar transfers. It was built on the moment they stopped trying to buy a Champions League and started trying to earn one. On a coach who dropped his best player for being late and called it his best decision all season. On a teenager from Paris stepping into a final and performing the best game of his life. Whether they win tonight or not, the era is already written. The club that spent over a decade as European football's greatest cautionary tale has become the thing it chased for so long. Is this the beginning of a PSG dynasty? Or is Arsenal the team that ends the story tonight in Budapest? If PSG win today, this isn't just a great club. This is one of the defining eras in modern European football. Built without the player many considered irreplaceable. Shaped by a coach who understood something the previous billion-euro squads never did. Collective identity beats individual ego. Every time. Drop your prediction in the comments. PSG or Arsenal? Subscribe for weekly deep dives that go further than the highlights.